While doing content research, I came across a few abbreviations that I wasn't familiar with. As I took notes, I began to realize that this concept might be lost to people who are studying ancient history. I couldn't find a video that explained this well, and the information I found was scattered. I knew that I needed to explain these better as our channel will be talking about historical dates. So why do we abbreviate years? During my research, I couldn't find what these abbreviations at the end of the years were called, so I decided to call them year stamps. To understand year stamps, we must go back in time into ancient history. We're not going to a specific point in history as many of the ancient civilizations recorded the years similarly. In ancient times, calendars were counted in terms of number of years of reign of the current monarch. This type of dating is called regnal years. To understand this, let's imagine you lived in ancient times and traveled to a foreign country. When you arrived, you misunderstood their dates and years because you were not familiar with their customs. So let's imagine that the third year of your king is the 21st year of their queen's marriage. Also, 5 years ago will be the 16th year of their queen or the 12th year of your king's father's reign. These type of dating structures are found throughout ancient civilizations. Archaeological records are filled with phrases like, in the third year of King Cyrus the Great, or Pharaoh Ramses in the 17th year, third month of his reign decreed that. Regnal years are confusing, and often they're full of errors. A change was definitely needed. It wasn't until the Roman Empire that we had our first official year stamp. The Romans decided that their dating system would start when the city of Rome began, their year one. In Latin, the phrase reads, ab urbe condita and anno urbis condite. The meaning is pretty much the same. You see the AUC in use anytime the Romans needed to number a date. You can see this in their coins and monuments. There is a recent example of this found in Rome. If you travel to the road called Via Antonio Canova, you'll find the sculptor's home and studio. On the outside wall of his studio, you'll find this plaque. The plaque was dedicated in 1917, yet it contains the date January 1st, 2670, a nod to the old dating system. So how did the Roman dating system get phased out? Well, they did use their dating system alongside a version of their regnal system. This system lasted until the year 525, when a monk by the name of Dionysius Exiguus came up with a different year stamp. He didn't invent this year stamp to measure events, but instead he was working on something called Easter tables. An Easter table is a type of calendar where the lunar year and the Roman solar years are calculated and placed into columns. As the name suggests, it was mainly used to accurately set the date of Easter. Not only did the Romans use the AUC year stamp, they also continued using the ancient regnal system. The regnal system in use during this time was the use of the Roman Emperor Diocletian. Emperor Diocletian was a Roman emperor from the year 284 to 305, only spanning 21 years. Diocletian did many good things for Rome, which is why some Romans use his reign to number their years. However, this emperor did something atrocious, and that was the persecution of Christians, known as the Great Persecution. He had them arrested, tortured, and executed. Some executions were public spectacles. Dionysius didn't want to continue using the Diocletian regnal year because he didn't wish to continue using the memory of a tyrant. Can you imagine if we used Adolf Hitler for our years? Like saying we live in the 89th year instead of 2022. 89 years from when Hitler came to power. Nobody wants to remember a tyrant, and this is why Dionysius changed it. Anno Domini became so popular that we still use it today, 1,497 years later. A Domini year stamp used the birth of Jesus Christ as the starting year. Anno Domini was any year after year 1, abbreviated AD. Ante Christiam Natum translates as before Christ's birth, started from year 1, moving backwards from there. For English speakers, this was abbreviated BC. It's important to know that the Domini year stamp was not the only numbering system in circulation. The Armenian calendar starts year 1 in 552 AD. The Etmos Cosmo, or Byzantine calendar, starts year 1 in 5509 BC. The Hindu calendar starts their year 1 in 3103 BC. The Buddhist era starts their year 1 in 544 BC. The Masons start their year 1 in 4000 BC, and the list can keep on going. The point is that throughout history, the start of a dating structure was an agreed upon event. We just happen to inherit our dating structure from early Christians, and the agreed upon event was the birth of Christ. It's not until the 1700s that we first see a new year stamp emerge. The first use of the phrase Common Era in English dates to a 1708 publication titled The History of the Works of the Learned, or an impartial account of books lately printed in all parts of Europe, with a particular relation of the state of learning in each country. Yeah, that's a long title. The phrase appears in a sentence from page 513, which reads, "The 4th century of our Common Era." It has taken 200 years for the Commons year stamp to become popular. It's not until the 1900s that the popularity has gained traction. One of the main reasons for this traction is globalization of our markets and the use of technology. These have connected people of different backgrounds and beliefs. Retaining a year stamp that is Christian-centric is not ideal for everybody. Not everybody believes in God, and not everybody that believes in God believes in Jesus Christ. But despite this, the Domini year stamp is still in use. I don't believe that it will phase out anytime soon. This is because the Commons year stamp and the Domini year stamp are identical in all forms. It's also because the year stamp numbering system is also tied to our modern calendar. Since the Commons and Domini year stamp are similar in numbering, there really isn't much to discuss. What does change is the meaning. AD is replaced by Common Era, abbreviated CE. BC is replaced by BCE, meaning before the Common Era. And that's it, that's all that changes. I do want to point out that even with removing Jesus from the equation, a hint of Christianity will always be present with the Commons year stamp. The Commons year stamp removes Christ, but a hint will remain, and this is because how year 1 was selected. So which of these year stamps is the correct one? Christians might say the Domini year stamp. Atheists and non-Christians might say the Commons year stamp. Surprisingly, neither one is correct. The sole purpose of the year stamp is to know the year in reference, and both the Domini and Commons year stamp do this well. So let's take 2022 as the referenced year. As you see, each numbering system points to 2022 in their own way. The only difference is the stamp. The Domini and Commons year stamp are not the only ones that are in use today. Scientific advancement and research content has had the need to create other types. For example, the MA year stamp is used to measure things in millions of years ago. Variations of the stamp will alternate between MYA, MA, or M. It all depends on the writer. There is a BYA and BA measuring in billions of years, but it's rare. The KYA year stamp is used to measure events thousands of years ago. Remember that the letter K, when dealing in years, means 1,000. So 17KYR means 17,000 years ago. This stamp has a few variations. You'll see it abbreviated KA, KYA, or KYR. This all depends on the writer. The BP year stamp means before present. It is commonly used with radiocarbon dating. A very important thing to remember about BP is that it should be renamed before 1950. This is due to the nuclear testing started from 1945 onward. Testing of the atomic bomb ruined the carbon-14 isotope used in radiocarbon dating. The TL stamp is used in thermoluminescence dating, a process of determining years of when a crystal was heated or exposed to the sun. This is commonly used in pottery, crystalline artifacts, or geological formations. This stamp is very rare. Now we've come to the year stamp that isn't a year stamp. The term years ago is not a measurable point in time, but mainly used in narration. It's like an approximation of a date. Which brings me to the abbreviation C. You'll see this before a year. This stands for circle, which literally means approximately. And this is what the YA year stamp is. It's simply an approximation. You'll find YA everywhere, as this doesn't require much research, and so the internet is littered with it. Take, for example, this Google search. It shows that the saber-toothed tiger went extinct 10,000 years ago. Does this mean that it went extinct in the year 7900? Of course not. This is incorrect, as the megafauna died during the quaternary mass extinction event thousands of years before 7900. To me, the scientific year stamps need to change. They're moving with time instead of being pinned by a steady year stamp. Because of this, you'll see them add a year the researcher wrote the article. These methods of dating are unstandardized and can lead to misinformation of dates. For the most part, this won't affect general readers, but it will affect somebody that is working on an in-depth analysis of a given time period. For example, like I am, when studying the Younger Dryas era. Dating inconsistencies has led to this era being wider, or shorter, or pushed backwards and forwards. These inconsistencies are not because of the researcher, but because of narration and the retelling of information. The reason why all this is important is that we have many historical, scientific, and narrative papers that give us different date stamps. Also, some of the topics we'll cover in this channel will deal with historical events, which needs to be understood in detail. Without knowing, we might read something that gives us an incorrect position in time, and this can cause further confusion. Within time, I am confident that the scientific community will create a unified, standardized system of dating. For now, this is a system that we have, so I don't have to do. It's up to us to perform our own research and understand time in reference to the writer, not the reader.